Alright guys, we did it. We made it. It's volume 8. We're here. I'm super excited. Do you have your bingo boards? I didn't print mine out this year. I didn't have a printer. But I have it on my phone, and I'm excited. I'm super excited. Let's dive in. Let's not waste any more time, because I really want to dive into this. Oh my god, this is already amazing. I'm fucking dying to have more backstory on Cinder, and if this tease means we're gonna get into that more during this volume, oh, I want it so bad. What a good shot, too. Look at the lighting there. I'm really appreciating the darker tone we're setting here, at least with Salem and the whale. It gives me, like, Zelda Ocarina of Time in the well vibes, which is what I want to see. And I like that the show is taking a much just more mature and darker direction in general. That reminds me, actually, in case you didn't notice, on Twitter, I had my bingo board, but I also made a mini episode 1 bingo board. The episode 1s usually tend to be kind of bad for RWBY. Like, it's a lot of setup and a lot of, like, bad tone shifts. So I'll just go over what my bingo board was real quick. Heavy-handed exposition, out-of-place comedy, we get a new Grimm, at least 3 new characters, we get a big cliffhanger, short, unimpressive fight, trailer bait line, no real stakes, and RWBY's overdramatic. So we're gonna go through this little bingo with this first episode, and I'm honestly, right off the bat, I'm amazed it didn't have more on my bingo board. I think RWBY and the new writers are really taking big steps forward into ironing out these tweaks that they've been having, because they've had problems before. That's why I made this bingo board, because I expected these things to happen, and the fact that we didn't even get half is really impressive. So yeah, let's keep moving forward. Oh boy, Neo's pissed off again. People are really certain. Do you mind? People are really certain Neo's gonna, like, backstab Cinder and, like, kill her or something like that. I think she might betray Cinder, but only if she gets something more. She gets a better monetary value out of it. She doesn't really care about saving the world or anything, and I don't think she would ever team up with the heroes, and I don't think they would want her to. I don't expect Neo to backstab Cinder anytime soon, if ever. I think this is just an interesting character quirk for her, so she's more than just a smiling blob in the background. You know, like how she was throughout all of volumes 2 and 3. I want to give a shout out to Josh Greeley for his performance as Tyrion in this episode. And he's really, like, toned it back, which I think is good.
You were merely atoning for past failures.
When Tyrion's so extreme, having him be much more reserved during these quiet moments keeps him from becoming just a very boring, crazy archetype, and much more of that fleshed out kind of poetic thing I liked about him that we saw back in Volume 4. I'm glad we're getting back into that. Oh my, they actually got new outfits. I was hoping. Right now, right off the top of my head, I like both of them. Mercury is a marked improvement. It's very easy. When he was so boring to begin with, it's very easy to improve on the nothing that he had going on. But I also really like how he has like a pop of orange in him here and there, and like a little bit of blue. He looks more thought out version of what he was originally wearing. And I think Emerald's just super cute. Her top is cute, and it looks warm. Warm enough for Atlas. For the loosey-goosey nature of how cold Atlas is and how you don't really need too many layers. She looks good enough. I like this. Her pants especially are very cute, and I can't wait to get a better look at her shoes. Hazel, similarly, when you're as boring as Mercury and as boring as Hazel, the only direction you can go is up. I don't know how I feel about his hair. I guess it's fine, but his outfit is just already a marked improvement. He has like bandages on his arms now, which I thought that's where he put his dust into that spot. So I wonder if they're gonna change up, like, do you mind? I wonder if they're gonna change up his weapon, like give him a different method of fighting other than just jam shit into arm and punch elements and things. Everyone looks good. I'm so happy.
Just because you're more valuable to me than a pawn does not make you a player.
I really love that line. Oof, not only does that hurt, like, that's gotta hurt, but it really gives us a better perspective on what Salem actually views herself as. She's not a motherly type figure, she's not an evil type figure, she's playing this like a game of chess. As we see in the opening, which I'll talk about later, she's planning like a strategy. And I really like this. I think this puts the idea of Salem into better perspective. And I really like seeing the villains up front, and I'm really hoping we stick with them a lot more, because I would like to know what their plans are going into the volume, rather than, you know, having it just happen around us. It's this tricky situation, where in Volume 5 they over-explained what their plan is, the last volume they under-explained what their plan is. I guess the way I would do it is, I want to know what they're going to do, but we don't need to know every single step of the plan for how they're going to get there, because that'll be the twist and turns with the conflict that'll make the show fun to watch this season. But I also don't really know what they're planning on doing. Like, they have the relic, and I don't know. Do they still want the maiden powers? Salem kind of suggests that she doesn't really worry about it right now. We're all now in Atlas. No one's over in Vacuo. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna stick in Atlas? Is she gonna move someone around? Who knows? I think we're gonna all stay in Atlas for now. I think it's gonna be, rather than divide her forces like she was doing, I think it's gonna be everyone all in one spot to just take out Atlas.
Honey Badger don't care. Honey Badger will do anything at all costs just to feed itself and survive in the wild.
Oh, man. Ugh. Like, I knew we were gonna team back up with Oscar, but gotta be so fucking quick. On my bingo board, I have Oscar goes on his own solo adventure. That might still happen, but this was like the perfect opportunity to have that happen. But nope, just, oh look, we found Farm Boy instantly. Whatever. Though I heard that they changed up Weiss's hair and Blake's hair between volumes, and they did, and I'm really glad that they did. I'm glad, moreover, that it looks nicer. Weiss's hair especially looks great. Blake's is subtle. It does look better, especially when she's standing still. It's a little bit more volume to it, a bit more stylized, and less helmet looking like it was before. I think Weiss was an improvement that I didn't know it needed as much, but it looks a lot better. Less bulky and bulbous and more like actual hair with the texture, and also just like, we can see like her hair being swept to the side, like her bangs. That looks better. The hair last volume was very smooth. Weiss and Blake especially. Very Lego looking. I'm glad that they took the time to go back and change it, and I'm glad that they bothered listening to criticism. It was very easy for them to just bury their heads in the sand before, but I'm glad that they were able to like have some reflection and go, they do have a point. We should approach this and fix this. So on my bingo board, I do have Get More of the Happy Huntresses, and we do see them here. The thing is, I'm not going to count this just yet. I'd like to see them a little bit more in order to really consider this like a satisfying amount of Happy Huntress for me. Like, Fiona's not even on screen. I would like if we could just play around with these characters a little bit more. But this is a good start. So on my mini episode 1 bingo board, I do have Out of Place Comedy, and that never got marked off. That didn't happen this episode, and that was the one I was most expecting. They have a bad habit of like really changing up the tone for episode 1, and I think it's because they're trying to like sell to a wider audience, because the first episodes tend to get more views than the rest of the episodes, but they didn't do that. And like this scene especially, I feel like would have been easy for them to make gags here and there, like with Nora's hug, for example, and I'm glad they didn't go that route. It's very reserved. It tells it's a very somber tone, and that's very fitting. They also do this thing, which I appreciate, where there was no short unimpressive fight, because that's all they ever do in episode 1. It's some sort of like thing that they can animate really quickly that will kind of show off everyone's abilities, and they just do it just so they can show it off at RTX, and I'm glad they didn't do that here.
You're not going to tell them.
You and I aren't done talking yet.
Ooh, more secret keeping. Yes, this is the kind of plot I want to see. I mean it. I think it's very apropos that the big thing was keeping secrets, and now all of our players and our main crew are keeping secrets too. This is good. This leads to character development, and I'm excited.
The crater beneath Atlas.
I think moving everyone to the crater is a terrible idea, especially because they know if the bad guys get the relic, Atlas will fall right down into that crater. That's where the crater comes from. And I think it's dumb, because Joanna says it's easier because it's warm and it's easy to get supplies there. It's not worth it. It's very dangerous. It's not worth the risk, because getting everyone there, it's going to be hard to get them all out if Atlas does start to fall. I think they should have gone with something different, and I think Team RWBY should have brought it up, but I don't think they're worried about it in this point in time. Maybe this will get brought up later in the volume. We'll see. maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, I really like what we're doing here. So we're setting up this duality thing with RWBY and Yang specifically, but it's the whole team. We're getting split. And the thing is, we're all working for the same goal. We're trying to save the world still, but we have different priorities. Yang thinks the priority should be helping the people of Mantle. She probably feels bad Salem is there looking for the lamp because they have the lamp. She probably feels regret over this, and RWBY is thinking more big. Well, Yang is thinking, like, help the people we can now. RWBY is thinking, if we can, like, get everyone into amity, we can start helping everyone else in Olive Remnant. It's still saving people. They're not disagreeing with each other, they're just disagreeing on what to prioritize first. And I actually really like this thing that Yang questions RWBY on her leadership, which has not been a thing that has been brought up since Volume 1. And I think it's important that we do reflect on RWBY here because, like Yang says, they were just following her. She's their leader. And they're in a kind of bad situation now. Like, you know, they have an arrest warrant on their heads. Keeping secrets from Ironwood was what brought them here. And she was the one who decided that. And it ended up biting them in the butt really bad. I don't think RWBY's a poor leader, and I don't think Yang's trying to say she's a poor leader. I think this is, if RWBY is the leader and we're gonna follow her lead, you need to acknowledge when you fuck up, and she has fucked up. We're in this fucked up situation, she's their leader. I don't think Yang is trying to, like, take over as the leader or anything like that. And I don't even think she's trying to be mean, necessarily, here. And I think it's an interesting direction to take for the group, because this will lead to interesting conflict, too. And it's a good excuse to split the team now. I like the fact that we have, you know, Yang, Ren, Oscar, and Jean in this direction, everyone else in the other direction. And it makes sense, especially because splitting Nora and Ren, they get to interact with other characters. That's the thing I'm most excited for. Nora gets to interact with someone other than Juniper now. And Yang gets to interact with Ren and Jean and Oscar. These are characters she's barely talked to. This has been a good excuse to split up the team in an interesting way. And it also makes sense with what we've built up so far. Yang was questioning RWBY before about withholding information from Ironwood. She was the one who proposed the idea of talking to Robin. She has been shown to be the most distant from what the rest of the team is going with. And it makes sense that she would be the one to question RWBY here. I like this. I really do. I was confused that Blake didn't side with Yang here. But I think it's more just an excuse for the writers to split them up, finally. And because they have been glued to the hip since Volume 6. And it's nice to have them, like, spend some time apart now.
Bypass security.
I'll go.
Oh, Penny, you sounding real depressy over there. And I'm worried about my little robot girl. I wonder what Ironwood was planning. I wonder if he's... Because Penny suggested she turns herself in. I wonder if that's what he wants to do. Just throw Penny at Salem, so Salem will leave them alone. I wonder if that's his plan, or if his intention is to try to take the winter power back. I'm not sure. I think he's an interesting element to the story, because he's in a very weird gray area. He's, like, sided with humanity. He wants to help save people, just like our heroes are doing, but he's going so radically in a different direction than them, that I'm afraid what he's willing to sacrifice in order to get that safety. Because ultimately he is a coward, and he's willing to give up a lot, and do a lot, and hurt a lot, in order to just stay away from Salem. So I really wonder what his plan is. Just like how I want to know what the villain's plan is, I want to know what his plan is too. Because I think it's safe to classify him as villain status now. Why would you have the morgue in the same room as the hospital? With windows into each room? What the fuck kind of hospital is this? Oh, Councilman Sleet and Camilla are back. That's fun. I didn't expect to see them again.
I'm the bad guy.
Duh.
Well, I think it's safe to say Ironwood is a villain now. I was a big advocate for being on Ironwood's side last time, in last volume, because I understand where he's coming from. Like I said earlier, he is trying to help, he's just misguided. He's letting fear cloud his judgment. But this tips him over into, as if shooting Oscar wasn't enough to tip me off that he's gone a little crazy with his paranoia. This really does it. I think this was a good scene to really hammer home, because it was very up in the air. This scene really does help hammer home exactly where Ironwood stands on should we like him or not. And I think the answer is not, because you don't just shoot people and get to stay as a good person. I think the much more interesting element moving forward, because I feel like me and Harriet are in the same exact mindset where I trusted him. So did she. And after seeing this, we're gonna be like, well, I don't know what to do now. It's the Aesops and Winter seeing this moment. I think it's gonna have a big effect on them. I'm excited to see what it is exactly. So there's a big question on what this Grimm is, and I got it right. There's a new Grimm on my bingo board. Knock that one off. There's a lot of questions on what this actually looks like what it could be. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. I think it's a Cerberus. I'm guessing like a 3-headed dog Cerberus thing, like a really big Beowulf kind of thing. That's my guess, because I'm getting like a kind of dog-like vibes from the jaw. So one of the things on my bingo board was to get a short opening, and we didn't. I think if anything, this one is longer than last time, but at least this time I like the song better. I really don't like Trust Love like at all, and it's Jeff Williams. I think Casey is a very good vocalist. I don't like when Jeff Williams sings usually, and he's not in this one. This one's better. It's very long, but I think it's visually much more entertaining too.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
So, and as far as bingo boards go, I did get a bingo with my mini episode 1 bingo. It was not in the way I expected at all. So, we got the new Grimm, and there was no real stakes, which of course there never really is, unless you're Councilman Sleet. Then there was some real fucking stakes there. But like with Oscar, when like the airship flew in, I wasn't worried during this moment. RWBY was overdramatic, and there was a trailer line, so that's where I got my bingo, that bottom stretch. But honestly, I am very impressed with how good this first episode was. It's done a great job. It hasn't done the usual tropes and pitfalls they fall into with their usual first episodes, and more importantly, because I think about last time, it was just boring. Nothing happened. It was a flashy fight, new characters, there's no setup. And usually they do is they have like these flashy things that are just like fun looking for a trailer, like I said at RTX or something. And then they have to wait for all the setup to get dropped in the next episode. So that's 2 weeks of just wasting time setting this up. And I'm glad we just laid it all out now. This episode was very good at setting up this plot. And I'm excited because we just knocked it out of the park. What's happening? Our team has been split. Half of them are going to finish the Amity project, the other half are going to go help Mantle. Super excited. I am so happy with how well this first episode is. I couldn't stop thinking about it after I watched it, and I watched each episode 3 times while we're making these reviews, and I've enjoyed it every single time. And despite being it's been a very word-heavy episode. That there's no fights, there's no action. But that makes me think there's going to be a lot more action down the line. I have nothing else to say. I'm just very excited. This was really well done. Because there's a lot, that's another thing, there's a lot, like, open-ended here. I don't know what the villains are going to be up to. I don't know what Ironwood's going to be up to. We just know what our heroes' mission is, which is good. There's a lot of opportunity, and I'm very, very excited to see where we're going with here. As far as my bingo board, I only got one thing off, which was Emerald and Mercury and Hazel come back, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next week. So in the comments, if you want, leave me your thoughts and opinions. Here's my $10 patrons on screen real quick. Cool Duck, Raymeal, Andrew, Chamomile, Valhalla Knight, Michael, Nako, James Dodds. Yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode. Do you have your bingo board? Are you getting anything crossed off yet? What are your thoughts and opinions on everything I talked about, on the characters? I saw people talking about Yang on Reddit and how they didn't like how that played out. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? What do you think about changing up Weiss's and Blake's hair? I'm super excited. I can't wait for the next episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.